Trucking Family Podcast, where we talk all things trucking and all things well. Everything from route planning, cooking on the road, and tips and tricks to make you more successful. It's all here on the WTF Podcast.
All right, welcome back to another WTF Well Trucking Family Podcast. Today we have a couple of guests from the ERS team. We have Lauryn and Michael. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Good.
Good. So you guys are going to spend a little bit of time going over a day in the life, really, of the ERS coordinator, right? Kind of help educate some of the guys and girls that have been here for a while and those that are new to trucking as to what your positions are. So, Mike, we'll start with you. How long have you been in transportation?
Oh, God, many years.
Over
years. 40.
Over 40 years.
Yeah.
So a few things you know here and there, right?
Yeah. I've been around the block a few times.
A few times. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Somebody's got to do it, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Lauryn, new to the company?
4 months today.
4 months today. So you've been starting your life in transportation out as an ERS coordinator as well. So welcome both you guys. Really just kind of want to go through some of the day-to-day things and really what the drivers can count on and expect from you, and maybe some mutual expectations, what you expect from the drivers as well while they're in a situation that requires help. So really, Lauryn, what's the purpose of ERS?
So I kind of typed it up here. I kind of have a motto that we follow. Our job as an ERS coordinator is to support you whenever you need us. Our team runs 24/7, where there's always someone there to answer a call, and we're always there to find help. Fast, efficient. We'll try to get you in and out as soon as possible. So I kind of wrote down that being an ERS coordinator means that we're available. Like I said, 24/7. We're efficient, and we're always available. So we're just there to help with whatever you need.
So I'm broken down on the side of the road, Mike, and you're working whatever shift I broke down. I make the call. What's the first thing you're going to expect from me?
The first thing I'm going to ask you is what's going on with the truck or the trailer. Number one, I want to know what you're hearing, what you're seeing, whether or not you've got any leaks or things like that. And so I can develop a plan as to what we need to do to get you help. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is when I'm calling, do some homework first, right? Write down what my problems are, where I'm at, all that stuff.
Yeah.
What are some of the basic things that you guys require or that you need right away?
Well, the truck number one, and driver code would help. Okay, although we can get that, and locations.
Sure.
And when drivers call in for, like, say, tires and stuff like that, we're looking for positions on the truck or the trailer so we know when we dispatch service what's got to be done.
So I know what you mean, but explain what you mean by positions.
Okay, what I mean is tire positions, so I want to know if it's the right front outer or the right front inner. What position is it on the truck or the trailer? I don't need to know if it's a drive tire or if it's a trailer tire because I already know that, and Michelin and stuff that respond to our calls have that in our profile.
Gotcha.
So really, we're not concerned about that. Other things are leaks and whatever you've got going on. A lot of times I could fix you right on the side of the road without getting service.
Sure.
Yeah.
So as we look at this, there's generations of truck drivers out there, right? You got people that have been maybe turning wrenches and fixing their own trucks from early on when trucks were very less complicated, right? Today's trucks that are pretty much computer driven and people don't have a clue of what's going on. So you're able to help walk them through, but there's enough technology in cabin stuff too, right? What might they expect, Lauryn, from like a tablet perspective? Are you able to do any of the work through that as well?
So tablets are really helpful for us. We have GeoTab with the tablet, and we also have pictures, which are huge. We always are asking for pictures.
Mean you have pictures?
Well, I mean, they can send pictures through their tablet.
Gotcha.
If you go to the Well app, there's a tab, either photos or pictures, and then it should say trip photos, and you can send it right to ERS. It'll come right through our email inbox, and that's how we can see what's going on. I mean, you're explaining it to us in real time, but it's way easier to understand what's going on when we can see it.
So we can't necessarily prevent a breakdown all the time, but the
Yeah.
technology we have now
It
makes it a
helps.
lot easier to describe
Mhm.
what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the call, I'm broke down, whatever it is, I got a blowout on a tire or something. What's the next steps? What if you can't fix me right there at that moment? Are you calling someone out? Because we don't have a service crew that comes out. So how does that work, Mike?
Yeah, we call out somebody. We'll call out Michelin, or we'll use somebody from maybe the NTTS profile, which is a national trucking vendors program.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then we use a lot of the vendors that we use more often that provide us good service at reasonable rates. We'll use those people more. Okay. And there's a lot of people that have experience in those, and that's why we use them, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we probably get a better rate also from certain vendors over another, right?
Yeah, we do. We do, for sure.
We kind of
And-
know.
We want to, you know, make, especially if a driver has got any portion of that bill coming,
Right.
we want to make sure that, you know, we're not overcharging the guy.
So you kind of just touched base on something I was going to bring up at some point in this. So from, we have two different types of drivers for us. We have
Yes.
independent contractors as well as company drivers.
Mm-hmm.
From a company driver perspective, it's pretty much we're taking care of it. This is what we need you to do. But from a contractor, an owner's situation, what options do they have? Are they able to make their own calls, or do they always have to go through us?
They got to go through us. It's the best, it's the best way of getting the situation handled.
Sure thing.
We do it on a day-to-day basis, so we know. Okay.
At least to get it going, and then
Yeah.
they can determine the end
And if,
result, right?
And if the driver calls somebody himself, he could end up with a big problem.
Right.
That's the other side of the story. Yeah.
And part of that really is to keep, for their benefit as well as ours, the repair orders in the same systems and stuff, so that
Yeah.
you have kind of a checklist down the road of what's been done to the vehicle.
Yeah, besides that, it will do, like, for example, if he did a repair on the road that we handled, okay, that would have warranty consideration if it failed again through us and not necessarily through the owner.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it behooves them to, and
Yeah.
from a financial aspect, it's probably a lot more affordable going through our programs or
Yeah,
our
it is.
vendors as well too.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So, as far as efficiencies and such, the drivers, they're obviously running on a time clock, and I'm sure you've had the calls, right? And I've been a driver. I've been in the situation of being broke down. I've been on the repair side of the fence too, where you're dealing with the driver who's broke down. Time is always of the essence, right? Especially when they're on the side of the road.
Yeah.
About how long, or what's the normal response time? If I were to break down, Lauryn, and give you a call, does it? I imagine part of it depends on where I broke down. If I'm in the middle of nowhere, obviously it's a different
Yeah.
situation. But if I'm in your average any town city,
Yeah.
about how long does it take to get help out to me?
Well, not only does it depend on location, it also depends on what happened.
Mhm.
Tire calls, usually we can get someone there 60 to 90 minutes is usually what the average ETA is. But when you have issues with APUs or, air leaks or anything like that, it's kind of about where can we get you to. We don't know. We have a lot of drivers that break down in Texas. That's always really difficult if they're in the middle of Texas.
Like in Nowhereville, Texas?
yeah.
Right, sure.
Yeah. If you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, it's difficult. But it also, just depends on the situation. It just takes a few hours at least for sure. But it's also about where can we get you? How far away is that? And what is their availability? Because there are times, excuse me, we'll bring drivers to dealers and stuff. And we just had a situation a couple days ago. Their next available opening was 4 weeks out. So obviously.
And that's a real problem nowadays
Mhm.
too, right? Not just parts, but availability
Mhm.
to get
Yep.
things worked on.
Yep. They're very busy just like us, so we'll have to search around, try to find who can get you in the fastest. It just depends. We always try to find the fastest service, though. The situation a few days ago, we went from 4 weeks to 4 hours, so we got that driver taken care of same day.
So that's good to call out, right? Which sometimes a driver might feel like, hey, I called, nothing's happening. there's a lot of work that goes on the backside once that breakdown happens, to chasing down vendors, to chasing down availabilities, to getting it all logistically coordinated to get that guy or girl taken care of in their truck as they're getting in there. What would you say is the most common thing that you see out on the road, Mike?
Actually, electrical problems.
How so? Like
well,
in the pigtail or
no,
the truck
no,
itself?
no. I'm talking about, you got to remember that these new trucks are nothing but computers
Sure.
on wheels,
Mhm.
okay? And if the dash goes black on you and, all of a sudden the driver panics, it's not a situation. It basically is a situation where you have to think of it as a laptop. It goes to sleep after a while, right?
Yep.
And everything goes black. Same thing with the trucks. Okay, so if you're not constantly with it, it's gonna just blank out on
And
you.
sometimes those could be a bear, I imagine, to even figure out what the actual problem is if the
No,
computer's
it's
messed
not
up.
so much that. It's that, if you actually open the door or if you turn off the switches on the floor for your battery power, your main power, and bring it back up, then your dash will come back. It's that simple. But a
Interesting.
lot of drivers don't know that. And with this new equipment and the technology in them, that's what it is.
You prompted me, and I know you and I talk cars and stuff all the
Yeah.
time outside of this stuff here, but I was actually watching a video, one of the channels I watch on YouTube, and they had just bought a new Humvee, electric Humvee, and literally was days into it, and it died on the road. It had some fault that came up, and just another of today's issues that you don't think about. They had no way of opening the frunk that they knew of at first, right? Because it was so foreign to them, the vehicle. But so they couldn't turn the battery off. They couldn't get it to go into gear. They couldn't get it to go into neutral. They had a flatbed there to pick them up, but there was no way of getting it on the flatbed because
You can't get
and
it
they're
neutral.
right, and they're giant. These new Humvees, I think they weigh like 9,000 pounds, right? And they finally found, and that is what ultimately saved them. They found this little bitty latch up underneath the dash to open the front trunk, and they were able to disconnect the battery, reconnect it, kind of like a hard reboot on a computer is
Yeah.
all it is. But
That's
and
what it is.
It doesn't have to be an electric vehicle like the new Humvee. The truck's same problem, right? Everything's computerized.
There's 50 sensors on these trucks nowadays. Wow. And so everything is monitored, especially on the EPA side of things with your, exhaust and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much technology in them. It's next to none.
That's crazy, and that's the world. It's only going to continue to go that way, right? And I know electric vehicles are a thing, but even before we get to there, the computers on boards are just going to continue to develop and
Yeah, I would think so. I don't. Although my opinion, I don't think electricity or electric vehicles is the way to go.
yeah,
I
think
really don't.
it's a way out until we have an infrastructure that can even support that as well too. But
Yeah.
but the computers are definitely behind the scenes there. So and that's still as much of a problem as an electric vehicle could be, I guess, right? So you have common issues like that. What is a day in the life, Lauryn? Like what goes on in ERS? I know you take calls from broken down drivers and such, but what's the AM shift look like compared to the PM shift, and what is a day in the life?
So, like you said, calls all the time. Don't stop. Always answering, always addressing, always recording what's going on, making sure we have those facts, because we get calls often, but it's also important that when we, switch from our day shift to our night people, we're just all communicating and we're knowing what's going on. So I would say in the morning, we get an email from people who are working the night, telling us what's going on, giving us the updates, and we kind of just assess what's going on now. What has changed? What are we dealing with at this very moment in the morning?
What if is there ever a situation where there's someone not on shift in ERS?
No.
I should know the answer to that,
No.
but
No.
so it's we're totally staffed
Yeah.
24/7.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I actually asked our manager that the other day. She's like, that doesn't really happen, because I was
Right.
wondering myself too.
Because it can't
Yeah.
really, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's hard. But so yeah, then in the morning, my job that I do when I was there every morning, I now part-time, but I check fuel. Because a lot of drivers are sleeping still. We need to know
What do you mean
where-
by check fuel?
So
Explain that.
our trailers, our reefers, they require fuel, to operate. When we have frozen loads, they suck up a lot of fuel. When they have dry loads that are set about 60, 55 degrees, they don't really, use up that much. But it's important that we're checking what kind of load do we have, what trailer is this, where are they, what's the fuel level. So I do a lot of that. I am always checking fuel morning, afternoon, and night, making sure that our drivers know that, hey, your reefer, you need to go fill it up. It's really important because we're not gonna constantly watch and make sure that it is filled. It's kind of their responsibility. But
And that's a big call out right here for those that have been driving with us forever or even halfway to forever. They already know the spiel on that. Make sure that the fuel tank is 3/4 or more
Yep.
when you drop a trailer.
Yeah.
And for all the new drivers on the fleet as well too, it's very critical because you might drop this load off at wherever, Fred's house of fish or whatever, and they might not get to it for another 3 or 4 days. It still might be sitting on there. And if that truck is dropped empty, this is what you're talking about, right? Now
Yeah.
you see trailer
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4 that's showing a quarter tank, and what? Now we have to have a driver come out or pay
Yeah.
someone? How does that work?
And I mean, granted, every reefer that is showing low on fuel doesn't always have a driver with it. Usually it's sitting at a customer or maybe one of our terminals. So that's when we kind of reach out to our operations team, customer service. We just try to reach out to whoever has that trailer. A lot of times they do have on-site fueling services that they will provide for us. Other times, if it's at one of our well terminals, we will see if there's another driver in the area,
Sure.
ask if they can fuel it. They're usually pretty cooperative with that. But yeah, we're just reaching out, making sure, because obviously we don't have control over that. So we're just making sure we get in touch with the right people who do.
What about if it's at a vendor where there is no ability of them or of theirs and there are no drivers?
Yeah.
What do? Do we
We
route
send
a
a-
driver in?
We send a fuel service.
Okay.
We dispatch people to come out and fuel. It's not our favorite thing to do because it can be really expensive,
Sure.
especially with fuel prices these days.
Cheaper than a lost load,
We're
though,
always
right?
getting fuel surcharge. But yeah, always cheaper than a lost load.
So that's very critical, that role, and that gets done every day.
Every day, 3 to 4 times, 5 times a day.
So help some people out there and make sure when you drop in these trailers that they're as full as you can
Yes.
possibly get them before you drop them, and it'll
It'll
probably
save-
save a lot of chasing around time, right?
It'll save you a lot of phone calls, a lot of messages, a lot of that. If you're trying to sleep and you get a phone call asking to fuel the reefer, make sure it's fueled beforehand.
So, a lot of times people think ERS is also safety, right? And I can see the correlation. I broke down. It is a safety function,
Issue.
right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
broken down the road, triangles and stuff like that. What would you say do not call you for, Mike? Like if it's a safety situation, when should they be calling Dave Gunt and his team versus you from an ERS perspective?
100 times. They should go there all the time.
Right? That makes it easier then, right? It's Mike's
No,
drinking coffee right now.
There isn't a lot, because when they have accidents or something like that, it still comes through ERS.
Sure.
And we get that information off to safety.
So you guys get the initial call when there
Yes.
is a fender bender out on the road or something.
Yes, we
okay?
do. Yeah. And so I direct the customer or the driver rather,
Sure.
to fill out a green sheet. If the authorities need to be involved, we'll call the authorities, otherwise take pictures of the accident and report it and stuff like that. And then we get that over to safety, and from that part, safety handles it.
Gotcha.
We get out of it as far as that is concerned. As far as getting the truck or trailer fixed, that's our responsibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really, you kind of are the front end of
Yeah.
all of that stuff, and then you will determine which way the call should go after that.
Yeah,
right?
if we tow it over to, say a body shop at a dealer, or if we tow it back to one of our facilities for repair, that's what normally we do.
All right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're really the coordinators between breakdowns, accidents, general repairs also.
Yep.
Let's say Mike Zabrowski's got 5 contractors in the shop getting work done? Does their bills and their problems come through you? How does that work?
No,
like in our
that
own
doesn't
shop?
work. That goes through the shop.
Okay.
Ron will do that over in Deep Pier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other guys in the other terminals like Tommy down in Oklahoma and stuff. They will handle the shop side of it. So if they send a truck out, like most of our equipment is under warranty.
Yep.
And they send it to a Peterbilt dealer here in Deep Pier, then they handle that. We don't
Okay.
handle it. Okay.
So
we will see the bills at the end.
So you guys handle the bills for
Yep.
everything.
Yeah.
We do a
Pretty much.
lot of invoicing, especially with other vendors. Let's say you do have a low trailer, low reefer on fuel. We send out a fuel service. We will then get that invoice. We work a lot more with other vendors than maybe our own shops, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're also focused on making sure they get paid, making sure we're putting that all in our databases, all of our systems, making sure those all get handled the way they need to. Or if we're getting a very large bill and we notice, hey, this is a 23 truck, this could be under warranty, you know, making sure we got all those warranties processed with Kathy and Kaylin.
So you're looking out for stuff like that. That's actually a good
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah.
Making sure we're not getting double charged or charged on something that should be covered under manufacturer
There's a lot
warranty.
of times that I'll call a dealer and say, hey, listen, I think your labor's a little high here, you know, and they will come back.
And he just hangs up on you and
No, not so much.
Right.
I got kind of testy with some people, you know, because I got $3,100 back off of one not too long ago, and because it was just not a fair bill,
Yeah.
you know.
and really from a independent contractor's point of view, they should be doing that themselves too, right? Because
Yeah,
that's
look-
a cost to them if
Look
they're
o-
paying for their own maintenance.
Yeah, you bet. Look over your bills. Make sure you're paying for what you're getting.
Now, from a
It's-
contractor perspective, do you guys analyze their bills too? or-
Everybody's.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's important if you're an IC owner operator, you're keeping tabs because sometimes these bills don't get processed for weeks.
Sure.
And it's easy to forget about it, and then we have a lot of angry people when they get those bills. But
Right.
it's important to keep track of what you're paying for.
And I'll kind of call this out a little bit. You're not the people charging them. You're the
No.
people
No.
getting the bills. So when you are angry at your bill, whether a contractor or a company driver, whatever, these guys here in ERS are simply the middlemen that are processing the papers. So do your due diligence on the front end and be the business owners that you are and make sure you're getting a quote on the front end of what your repair is going to be, and then
For sure.
following up under your own business plan to make sure you're not paying something you shouldn't be. But it's good to know we have folks here that are kind of like a little security blanket to try to catch that
Yeah.
as well. But that's not a guarantee you're going to find everything. So
No.
as a good contractor, make sure you're validating the work there, right?
Oh, yeah.
The what would you say as far as from a maintenance perspective? You know, you get a lot of calls. What would you say pros and cons? I'll give you each an opportunity to answer that, because I'm sure between the two of you and the rest of you up there, every one of you have we'll call them pet peeves or whatever. What can our drivers do to help? What can our vendors do to help? And really, this podcast goes out to everybody, so there could be other company drivers listening to this as well too. But what can they do to help make your life better? So, Mike, pros and cons. What do you like? What do you like about this, and what do you wish would be done better to make it flow better?
You know what? I think the drivers feeding more information to us than normally what they do. Okay, I mean, I need to know. There's a lot of times, like I said, I can fix you on the side of the road without any cost.
Sure.
Okay, but I've got to know what's gone on. Basically, and I'll give you an example. I had a driver call into our shop, and at the time, who was here before the shop foreman? Nights.
I forget. his
Ernie.
name.
Ernie.
Yeah. That's right. He just retired. So
yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, he told the driver, shut off the main power supply, bring it back up, see if the truck takes off again.
Sure.
Okay. Because the guy's complaint was loss of power. Okay. So I called him. And I said, tell me what happened. Well, he said, I said, what did you hear? What went on? He said, well, I heard this pop like maybe a tire blew up. He said, but I didn't see that. I said, tip the hood. What am I looking for? I said, you're looking for
Oil.
a charged air cooler hose come off. And on the passenger side, that's exactly what happened. So he put it back on. He had a crescent wrench with him, tightened up the clamp.
Oh, literally just popped off the clamp, right?
Yeah, and basically got in the truck, started it up, had all his power back. That could have been $1,000 call out for a
nothing.
service call for free. Yeah, for nothing, you know.
So
And it was
that's-
just a matter of, you know, give us the most information you can give us.
And sometimes you don't have to be mechanically inclined to
No.
know what your problems are. Sometimes just opening the hood and looking. If it don't
Yeah.
look right, hey, here's a hose that's hanging off. Okay, I've
Mhm.
narrowed it down. I don't necessarily have the tools or know how to fix it, but those are the things you can't just sit behind the wheel, right, and say, I don't know. Truck
Yep.
just stopped.
No, you can't. You really got to give me some information about what's going on. Yeah,
Knowledge is power in this case, right?
Yes.
The more you know, the quicker
Yeah.
you can.
for sure.
Lauren, what about you? What would you say, pros or cons?
Well, one thing that I would say Mike and Martin and Connie, who's our ERS lead, they are always very hands-on, direct with the drivers, getting service.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 4 months in. I'm now part-time because I go to school. So I'm there. I'm a fill-in as needed. So when I'm not working with drivers, a lot of the time I'm working with Kathy, our warranty administrator. And we're doing a lot of paperwork, a lot of invoices, stuff like that. So one thing that helps us as a team is give us an invoice. It's crazy to think how many people we're calling it on a daily basis trying to get a bill from them.
What do you mean, like from a driver or from a vendor?
From vendors for sure. That's a really big part of what we do.
So pause there. So give you an invoice. Why are you looking for? Is the driver calling saying what the bill is, and then you don't?
No.
How does this play out?
Well, there will be days, weeks. If we send out, I'm going to keep using the example, fuel service.
Sure.
We need the bill. We need to pay you. Obviously, you went out and did a service for us. It'll be like weeks. We'll call, and there are so many companies and vendors out there who don't give us a bill. So then that's hard because then that's what keeps our ICs waiting. And that's what kind of keeps us waiting.
Oh, because in my mind I'm thinking, okay, don't send me a bill. I'm fine with that. But the reality is, you have, from a contractor's perspective,
Mhm.
he knows he's getting charged for this, and he's trying to
Yep.
budget appropriately, right?
Yep.
And so you're chasing down ghosts.
Yep. So it's hard because some of these vendors sometimes can get disorganized.
Yep.
And they'll lose the invoice.
6 months
won't
later,
record.
one's popping up
Yeah.
that should have been there
Yep.
6 months
So
ago.
it's always kind of back and forth, kind of chasing after some of these vendors who do service for us to get our bill, so we can get that passed on to our ICs.
I can
obviously.
see that.
But I will say, I don't have that many complaints. I really like my job, and I love working with the drivers.
Well, and I think, you know, when you're not here,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you're noticed the most, right? And so it's a nice service to have. I know we did try a third party for a little bit there once, and I think we just find that when it's our own people on site doing our own thing, it flows much better.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't fix all the problems, because the problem,
No.
that's what you're here for, is to help try to fix them, but the problems are always going to happen. But the key thing is for you drivers out there is to recognize that there's a team of people here that really are working hard to make sure you're able to keep rolling and make the maximum use of your time. But there's some ownership on your ends as well too to help them flow. And I'm squarely hearing clearly there from you, Mike, and Lauren as well, that information is probably the biggest caveat here.
Yeah,
and,
it
and,
is.
and the more you can bring to the table, we have
Yes.
tablets that you can take pictures with. We have technology. The trucks even talk. There's telemetry that they can give and get, but at the end of the day, the more you have, the faster it is. Just
Mhm.
like
It's-
life as well, right?
yeah.
Your car breaks down, you want to know what to tell them.
It's easy to freak out in situations.
Mhm.
We have drivers who have flat tires on the side of the freeway. It's stressful, we understand. We can hear it when you call us. We can hear the panic. But it's so important to just be present in the moment, think logically, and be clear and cooperative with us. Because, like I said, we're here to support you. We're here to help you 24/7.
So how do they get a hold of you?
So there are multiple ways. Like I said, on your tablet, you can send us photos, email us directly. We also have our own breakdown phone number line and extension.
Is that Mike's cell phone?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
No.
We'll put that at the bottom of the
yeah, right.
the
Yeah,
post
are
here.
we? Yeah, okay, sure. Mhm.
Our breakdown line is 920-338-7210, and that'll ring our phones upstairs, and someone will answer.
So that's direct line.
That's
you don't have
direct.
to go through extension.
No. If you are talking to, say, someone in operations or whoever, and we do have a direct extension too. What is it, 2955?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if Hollywood is watching this and
Yeah.
they do want to get a hold of
Give us a
Mike,
call.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
all right.
And then we also have our own email inbox, but that's kind of more for our vendors that we give out. Just ERS at well companies.
Gotcha. So what is, as far as washouts and stuff like that, do you guys handle that stuff also?
That's huge.
I hear that a lot.
It's huge.
Mhm.
I'm acting like I hear that a lot. I actually do hear that a lot. That is a big thing. So what is the process for trailer wash, truck wash, all that stuff?
Mike, do you want to take that one?
You call in,
Yeah.
and basically we'll give you a PO for washouts. Like everybody I think knows, is anytime. Anytime you need a trailer washout, we'll give you a PO for it. Truck washes for a company truck is
So
once
let's
a
pause
month.
there for 1 second.
Okay.
Anytime you need a trailer wash based on the customer
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
being what, not because you just feel like, it's
No.
good day to wash a trailer out, right?
Yeah.
And to clarify real quick, a PO for 4 numbers that we generate through our system.
Mhm.
You can't make that up. We have to give that to you.
Or else
4
it's not going to
numbers.
match.
Yep. We'll
Mhm.
give you 4 numbers. Give us a call or email us. We prefer you call. Give us a call. We'll give you 4 numbers.
Yeah, there's an app for the drivers to use to send it to us as to
Mhm.
what they want.
Like the Blue Beacon app, or do they go on the Well app?
No, they go on a well app,
Mhm.
and it will actually, all they got to do is put in the truck number, trailer number, and basically tell us what they want, just with an X in front of a
And you
trailer
can send that.
washout, or
and where they're
and
going.
you can send that. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. But that's critical. They're not going to get it. I mean, unless
Yeah.
they're paying cash out of their own pocket, they're not
Right.
going to get it from
But
you.
then they'll call you for a PO so they get paid back,
Yeah.
right?
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As Mike was saying, trailer washouts anytime. But there are certain rules with truck washes.
Yeah, there's once a month for company trucks, once a week for leases, ICs, okay? And trailers are once, exterior trailer is once every 3 months.
Gotcha. Now,
Okay.
does independent contractor, do they pay for their, is that a cost to them or
I think it is through the, their lease program or
Sure.
However that works.
but they
I'm
can,
not
from a
sure.
contractor, if he wants to
Mhm.
pay for a wash
Oh, you can
every
go
day,
whenever.
he can do that, right?
Yeah.
A company guy, though, they get it.
Yep.
Right.
when
and
we allow
there's
it.
other things too, Todd. There's like if a driver needs antifreeze or windshield washer fluid or oil that he wants to put in the side compartment, okay? Those he can buy through the shops at the Petros and Loves, stuff like that, and we'll give
Sure.
him a PO for that.
What else? What else is hanging out there that you guys would like to get across as far as messages go? Any issues like out on our other terminals and stuff? Trailer parking, trailer dropping, any of that stuff from not just in the De Pere Green Bay area, but McDonough or Winter Haven, anything like that?
I can't think. The one thing that I can think of, okay, that really needs to be addressed, as long as we're talking to the drivers,
Sure.
is eSmart. Okay.
Yes.
You have to realize that eSmart's in there for a reason. Okay. And
So eSmart, for those that aren't familiar, is what?
well, it's a
Oh.
system that allows the truck not to go under a bridge that's too low. Okay.
And
I
reduce
had one
speeding.
And not exceed speed limits,
Yep.
right?
yes, and I had one happen today that topped the trailer.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's what it's out there to do, really. I know there's been some growing pains with it,
Mhm.
let's put it that way, especially in the Chicago area and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
they're trying to work those bugs out, okay?
Mhm.
But it's going to take a while,
Sure.
Mhm.
okay?
But-
But it is, it's there to stay. I know a lot of drivers don't like it, complain about it, but it's there to stay, and it's there for a reason.
And the
you know.
technology's continuing to improve, right?
Yes.
I
For
mean,
sure.
Yeah.
and I can see, what do they call that? Devil's advocate, right? I can see the story on both sides. From a driver perspective, we've heard for years, turn the trucks up, turn the trucks up, turn the trucks up. Well,
Yep.
this has enabled us to turn the trucks up
Right.
based on the speed limit. It's easy to get complacent with something once it's out there and rolling, but one thing from a driver's perspective, recognize that if you get a speeding ticket that is over 15, that's a careless and reckless. That's going to get you right out of your job instantly. Most trucking companies, literally almost every trucking companies, their hiring criteria won't allow you to work for them. So the last thing you want is a ticket. The last thing you want to do is have points on your CDL. You also want to be able to go out west and do 75 or whatever it is, right? So this, my understanding, allows you to accomplish that within 5 minutes or 5 miles of speed limit, right? If it's
Yep.
70, I can go 75. If it's
Yes.
50, I can go 55. But then the downside, or really the positive side, is 45. It makes sure you're not speeding school zones. De Pere is a great example.
Yes.
This main stretch by the school along the river.
Yep.
That
Oh,
cop
yeah.
sits there every single day in his
Yep.
little silver Taurus, and he always has someone pulled over because it's 25. So
Yeah.
we're doing it to better insurance rates, better for the drivers to have flexibility. I can see the frustration
Yes.
because they want to have control of their truck,
Yep.
but how many times has it saved them already? We'll never know the answer to that, right?
No.
Because it's
No.
happened, but recognize that Mike doesn't make eSmart, Lauryn
Yeah.
doesn't make eSmart,
No.
the company doesn't, and they're working on it. But the bridge thing itself, for the couple flubs that might be there, there's been a lot that it slows your truck down to about 3 miles an hour, and
Yeah.
Yep.
don't force the truck
Yep.
to go anyway. 3 miles an hour still does damage. We know this.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
But it's critical. Use the tools that we have.
And that's what I was gonna say too. Is it can be frustrating. A lot of our calls are eSmart complaints or concerns, but we've seen it work. So we kind of have to trust it, trust the process, trust that it'll get fixed and refurbished a little bit here. But you can always call us if there's an eSmart issue. We can reach out to them, or you as a driver can always reach out to them yourself as well.
I was just going to ask that. So let me ask a question real quick, because you made me think of something there. Some things you guys don't control. You didn't build eSmart,
No.
No.
right? You don't necessarily have the technological answer for the problem. Sometimes the calls you get are just drivers venting their frustration.
Yeah.
Not saying that's a bad thing, because it's always
No.
good to have someone to talk to, but are there times where it can overwhelm your system because you have actual emergencies and breakdowns? Who would be the best person if I wanted to vent about eSmart or really any other technical issue? Where is the best place to make that call? Is ERS the team that I need to be calling because I'm not happy with the way my eSmart is?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
And I just think
It
of that
might
from the
be-
sense
it
because
might be eSmart, but I can give you an example of what I've seen.
Mhm.
Okay, if you look at like Chicago area for certain, okay, what I've noticed when I've gone into the system is that they're relying on their maps
sure.
for eSmart, speed limits and stuff like that. Okay, and bridges. And what I've seen is maps that are dated 2019, 2020.
Sure.
Things change. And I'm sure that a lot of that stuff has changed. You might have had a construction zone at one time where you drove through and it was 55 miles an hour, and you think, oh, it's 70 because that's what posted is.
Right.
And I can do 75, but you're only going 55. Okay, that's probably the reason for it.
Because it's not actually reading that spot. It's based on
Yeah.
its most
Past
current
maps.
updated
Yeah,
technology.
you
Right?
see, and
You
they
can't do
haven't-
nothing about that.
no, they haven't gotten there yet
Yeah.
with their mapping.
We're speaking with them very often.
Yep.
Our manager's always talking to, what's his name, Bernard?
Yeah.
Up in eSmart. But, I mean, if you do have complaints, if you're aware of the issue, hopefully that'll, kind of decrease the amount of calls and complaints we get, because we're aware of it. We're well aware of it. And I mean, you can always call us all the time, but I would also say maybe a fleet manager, they can
Right.
always come up to us and talk. They're always by your side too. And they might be able to talk to you a little bit more one-on-one while we're dealing with other instances, you know?
And probably the easiest way to frame this up would be before you make the phone call, really on anything. Is this a true emergency breakdown situation
Yes.
that I need to call about, or am I just frustrated over? And why I say that is because Susie or Fred might be in a true serious emergency situation trying to get through, and we need to make sure that the purpose of this role is to handle those situations and get people out of harm's way as quick as possible, not to get it buffered with just conversation and stuff. As much as we love to talk to the drivers and stuff too, I mean, if it's a quiet day, but do recognize that people are genuinely breaking down and having serious, whether it's a serious accident, whether they're in the middle of Chicago on 94, broken down with a flat tire, and they got to get out of the way. So do be cognizant of the other things that go on there. But, as far as things that are irritable or that don't work well, definitely voice those opinions, but make sure we're talking to the right people so that everybody's getting handled with. We want to make sure that our emergency response team is able to get things taken care of as quick as possible and get everybody rolling so that you're out there making money. That's all good information. Anything else you guys like to share? You think we covered most of the bases here?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have any questions, anyone listening, you can give us a call. We'll answer. There's always someone there.
And I would say if it is a low-key thing, right, use the app. Send a message in that way, because then if it's not urgent, and maybe you could vent, or if you have an issue at eSmart that way, document it, then we can send those submissions in too. But
and we do have drivers that are really good about that, sending us
Yeah.
messages.
Yeah.
easiest way, just ask yourself before you do it, hey, is this an emergency, or is this a concern, right? And save the emergencies for the people that really need them, but make sure you're getting all the messages out there. Well, good. Well, Lauryn, Mike, good to have you both in here doing this today. It didn't hurt, did it? There was no tears shed, so
No.
everybody's good here. But appreciate all the information. Again, anybody breaking down out there, make sure you're calling the ERS team, and they'll get on it right away. Again, they're working hard to make sure help is on its way, but they're only as fast as the vendors are too, but they are working hard to make sure it's taken care of. So appreciate you being on board for this today, and thanks for the input. And until we talk again next time, everybody be safe out there, and thank you for listening to another WTF Well Trucking Family Podcast. Be safe.